like to thank everybody for coming tonight. Just like to make mention that this meeting has been notified properly according to the Open Meetings or Open Public Meetings Act. And go ahead to start. We'll do a roll call. Councilman Lagram here. Councilman White here. Councilman Baird here, and Councilman Wade here, and Councilman Burdick, he's in Salt Lake on business, so he won't be with us tonight. To begin, we'll go ahead and have a prayer. I'll offer that, and then if you follow me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Our dear Heavenly Father, we come before Thee this night. We're grateful for the many blessings that Thou hast given us, and grateful for this opportunity we have to meet together tonight as council and citizens and discuss the needs of Roosevelt City and those things that are important to us in our community. We're grateful for all the blessings we receive here. We're grateful for those that serve, for the staff and officers and firefighters, and those volunteers that spend time serving and helping in our community and making it a great place to live. We ask Thee this night that Thy Spirit will accompany us and guide us in our decisions, that they may be done with everyone in mind and that all may be benefited. We're grateful again for all things. We ask these blessings and favors and do so in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
First thing would be to approve the minutes of the last meeting. Are there any corrections or amendments to page 1, page 2, page 3, and page 4? Seeing none, would entertain a motion to approve.
So I'll second it.
Motion by Councilman Wade, second by Councilman White. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? We have opportunity for those that are here. We have a public comment period. You can take up to 3 minutes to comment. Is there anyone here that would like to take opportunity to do that at this time? Seeing none, we'll move forward with the agenda. The first item we have is Planning and Zoning Board member appointments. So we've decided to present 2. We have 3 open positions, and we'll go ahead and fill 2 of those tonight, and then we'll wait till the next council meeting to fill the other position. Lynn Snow has been serving on the Planning and Zoning Commission, and he has expressed interest to continue to serve, and so I would present first Lynn Snow to be reappointed on the Planning and Zoning Commission. Any motion to do that?
I'll move to approve that.
Okay.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Councilman White and second by Councilman Wade. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The other position, Ren Bagley is who we've chosen to serve on the Planning and Zoning Commission to fill that other position. Any questions on Ren and who he is? He works for the NRCS. So he has some pretty good knowledge of different things. He's a good guy. I know him personally, worked with him on projects. Any questions or concerns about him? Probably have to go in closed session if we did. Seeing none, we'll entertain a motion to approve him as well.
Make that motion.
Second. Motion by Councilman Labrum and second by Councilman White. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. We'll let them know at the next planning and zoning meeting. And I don't see Lana here, but I see Wayne here. Lot line adjustment. So Wayne, I guess you're signing in for her tonight.
Yeah, sure.
Would you like to come forward, and Ryan, do you have anything?
Yeah, I do. Let's move it over here to show up here. So just to kind of orient, this is State Street over here, Pole Line Road or 2000 South. So that's Pole Line Road. So the corner of Pole Line Road and State Street is your cross points here. This has come before planning and zoning and was discussed, reviewed, and recommended for the approval of the council. And the staff has also recommended for your approval. So he's here. But it's really around these lots right here. It moves this line up to balance where those lots are and creates B and C and formalizes D here. All of them were there. They just on the same parcel and it separates them off. So it just kind of cleans up the parcel. So you can add whatever I have missed.
No, I think you about covered it. Like I said, there was just a lot realignment. We're moving the one property up. They had different tax numbers. The two lots was with the big partial. So we're taking the two little lots and the next big lot to the west and making the big partial as one tax notice.
Move to approve.
Okay. We have a motion to approve by Councilman White and second by Councilman Labrum. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, passes. So,
You just need to sign that. You can let you know.
so easy. Yeah.
The big piece is a little over 70 now, and then there's 3.5.
Is that right behind it? So you want to hand it behind? Working on it. No comment. Cool.
Thank you.
Thank you. So the next item we have, I put it on the agenda incorrectly. It's Sergeant Redhill. I didn't realize that. He's the sergeant of the task force for the Uinta Basin. And he was planning on coming tonight and sharing some things with the council. We had our task force meeting earlier this month. He wanted to share some statistics with us and a few things that are happening in our area. And we also decided as entities that participate in the task force to go back to our councils and see if we can get approved an allotment up to $6,000 for the task force to add an employee of 20 hours a month. But I'll let him expound more on that at our next council meeting. We wanted to make sure that we did it before our budget is final in June. So if you'll be thinking of that, we've invited him back next month where he had that conflict, and he'll present those numbers to us. I think it's only fair that we have some of those numbers and statistics before we make a decision, even though $6,000 is a year is not that much for some added safety and a little extra bonus when it comes to that. So.
With that, Mayor, that task force representation is the Uinta Basin task force, correct?
Correct. So you have several entities that would participate in that. You have the Sheriff's Department, Vernal City, Uinta County Sheriff's Department, and then a few others, Duchesne City, and a few others that would be participating. So each of those would have the opportunity to contribute that amount, which would provide funding for another officer 20 hours a month. And with the numbers that he has and the work that they've been able to do, it's amazing what they've been able to do with what they have. But I think, and he's confident with a little more help, they can really start to impact our crime rates and those types of things in our area.
Is the tribe involved in that?
Unfortunately not. Yeah. So, but anyway, we'll have him come at the next meeting and I think you'll be pleased with what they're doing, and it's a good thing. Next item, the land sale and acquisition policy best practices discussion. That's something that I put on the agenda, and I've had a few discussions with our city manager since then, talked about some of those things, and I think for the most part, my concerns or things that we can do as it relates to that, I think we have pretty much, I feel comfortable with. I don't know if anybody else had anything on that, and I don't know that I need to go into much detail other than visited with him and I think we have a pretty good idea of how to move forward. So, any thoughts or comments?
Was there any, there was been no need in finding going through that really didn't need to change anything in our policies or anything?
No, it was, well, there was, yeah, not necessarily in the policies. It was more of I think it more had to do with communication and being educated on what was happening and those types of things as they were. And with my position, I get a lot of phone calls when people have questions, and it's a lot easier to answer those questions or know, and address those things when I know what's going on up front. And so we'll have a lot better communication on those, working together on.
Is the reasoning for this public? Can we discuss why we were looking into this?
Yeah.
So this is a
How
power
you
line.
mean as far as, well, that was, are we still in negotiations on that?
We're still in discussions.
I don't have to address anybody
Yeah.
specific. My question is we have dealings with oil field companies and different things like that where we give easements or rights away or something like that. Say another entity comes in and wants that easement, but is not willing to pay the same price as we've been at. So there are some that may be under eminent domain. We don't have a choice. My concern is that we be careful so that we get fair market value. We don't need to overinflate anything, but we also don't want to be pushing for too much and then have it bite us in the butt in the end.
And that was my concern. That was one of my concerns. I think with the current situation, I support 100% the way that's been approached because of because of who and what. There are other instances where I think there could have been a little bit different approach, maybe too heavy-handed in the approach on some others. And the main thing is the communication, I think. And when I visited with our city manager and I told him, we have a council, he doesn't necessarily have to utilize us, but that's a tool that he has in his belt. And for me, it helps me when I get a call from an entity and says, what's going on? And I don't know what's going on. It's hard for me to respond and know if I know of the situation. We have discussed that situation prior to those phone calls. It makes those phone calls much easier, even though it's not necessarily me who's negotiating that or making that decision. It's just, it's good to be on the same page. So that was my main concern.
Well, just
But I agree.
looking over everything, that was just my concern. There's some things that we may not have a choice of whether it happens or doesn't happen, but we do have the ability to negotiate prices to some extent on private things. We have, yes, or no. And if yes, this is how much it's gonna cost you, but other things don't work that way.
Yeah. In the eminent domain, my thoughts behind some of the others were, just making sure we're treating people fairly. So,
Those were my thoughts.
perfect. Any other thoughts on that?
Nope, thank you.
So ordinance, well, Arts, Parks and Rec Committee preliminary discussion. So let's go to that. I'll preface it a little bit. We have Wendy Nicholson. I'm going to tattle on a little bit. She came to our last meeting and had mentioned some things. She used to do the Basin Arts Council. And that council was disbanded when?
A year ago.
Yeah, about a year ago. So there's certain things that the Basin Arts Council was in charge of or did voluntarily. And anyway, she came in and mentioned some of those things didn't happen this winter and was wondering what the city council was planning on doing. This is something that's been important to me since I even started running for mayor, because there were two main concerns with our citizens as I was out beating brush and those types of things. One was the economy, how we would diversify, and the other one was recreation. And what are we doing for our youth and what are we doing for our kids? And one of the main questions was, what am I going to do for, or what are we as a council going to do for the kids and provide them forms of recreation? And my thought was, what can we create as a council or as a city that would allow individuals to come and participate and help solve those problems themselves and give them a little bit of the role on coming up with the types of recreation they want for their kids. And I feel like that's a better approach than coming from the top down. I think it's a better approach to come from the citizens and give them a place, a committee or an organization where they can discuss those things and implement those things. And so we did talk about it at our last meeting, mentioned that it was something that we would be interested in, and so decided to go ahead and kind of push that forward. Wendy was blowing my phone up with thoughts, and I said, would you please put those together and form kind of a presentation for us on some of those ideas and what other cities do. And so we'll allow her to present that. And then when she's done, we'd like just to open it up to the public and get public comment and feedback on your thoughts about, whether or not you think that would be a good idea and how that would work. So Wendy, we'll give you the floor.
All right. Thank you, Mayor and Council, for having me back. Like you said, I came and approached you guys about the arts, and then Mayor Bird kind of broadened my view that not just the arts, but the parks and the recreation in our city needed attention to. So I was doing research and I blew up this phone with all the things that I found. So now you guys get to see all the things that I found. So this is just something to show how the arts and the recreation is handled in other cities across the country. I've lived in quite a few cities, and this is the only city I've ever lived in that doesn't have a division or a commission or a committee dedicated to the arts, the parks, and the rec. So, thanks, Glenn. So, basically, committees and commissions like these are found in cities both large and small. I found things from Santa Barbara down to like Logan, Utah. So very different in population, but they still offer recreation. This isn't a new thing. It's not an idea that has just started. Some of these cities have had them for 90 years, and we still don't have one. That was mind-boggling to me. And on the right, this just shows a little bit of like what they do and who they are. It's just volunteers from the community who care about these things. who review the programs, how they're working, how much they cost, whether those things should be changed or whether they're working well. And they act as a liaison between the citizens, the community, and the city. So it's, like he said, a place where we can bring what we want without having to approach you guys every single time on every little matter. Okay. So this first one's from Athens, Ohio. I love their mission statement and their vision that they have. It talks about how it's to provide the residents programs, activities, facilities that encourage health, fitness, cultural, recreational, education, social opportunities in our community. And then it goes over some of the things that they do. Athletics, sports camps, arts and crafts, aquatics, community events, dance, and other things of general interest. So the next city that I looked at was Menlo Park. This is in California. They really clearly state out the roles and responsibilities of such a committee that we're talking about. They try to be financially responsible. They are a liaison, like I mentioned, and they're accessible to the community in a way that maybe the city council isn't always, because it's a little scary to be here in front of you guys, I'll be honest. The next city is Bowling Green, Ohio. I actually lived here. It mentions how on their mission statement, how they cooperate with both public and private entities, because I know there's lots of citizens in our community that kind of do their own thing. But if we had a committee or a commission that brought them all together, I think that we could see greater success. In Bowling Green, they have lunches in the park on Sunday, they have concerts in the park, they have after-school activities or programs. They do a Winterfest there, just like we did here. And they have like children's snow games, ice sculpting competitions, a citywide chili cook-off. Bowling Green is about twice the size of Roosevelt, so it's not incredibly big. It's just a nice little, beautiful little city. The next one is Santa Barbara. Like I mentioned, this was not a small city. This has been around, since the Mexicans had the Santa Barbara mission there, forever. And they're the ones that first created the Recreation Commission in 1929. And they administer the facilities, the programs for the youth and adult sports, social activities, aquatics, cultural arts, activities for senior citizens and the disabled, and community-wide special events on a year-round basis, kind of like that Winterfest thing was for us. The next one is, I don't even know how to say this, Wenatchee, Washington. And it talks about how it's a 9-member citizen volunteer commission that advises the city council. The next one was Rockland, California. As you can see, these are from kind of all over the place. Ohio, California, Washington, all kinds of different places and cities have a parks, recreation, and arts committee or commission. And they make those recommendations to their city. The next one is Golden, Colorado. That's a little bit closer to home. This one was created way back in 1982. Some of us weren't even born then, and some of us were just babies. But this one talks about how they have an alternate member, and they each serve 4 terms, but they overlap so that you have continuity when one person leaves the city or one person is done with their term. The program's not dropped; it's still there for the citizens to enjoy in the future. And then the next ones are all here in Utah. I lived in Logan City as well, also a beautiful place. And they release a leisure guide. That's what it says on this portion of their website. So every summer and every winter, they release this guide where you can go and see every activity and program and service that they're providing, which I think would be really helpful here, because I see on Facebook all the time, someone asking on the yard sale site or something like, how do I sign a budget for baseball? Does anyone know anyone that's involved in this sport? It would be so nice to have a committee handling this and maybe putting out the information for the citizens. They say that their purpose is to serve the needs of the community and to create a sustainable community. I think that's really important. It brings the community together in a way that not having a Parks and Rec department or committee does. And then the next slide is Pleasant Grove. They have an entire website dedicated just to their recreation. If you can see at the top, there's the Parks and Rec and the library, the Chamber of Commerce, the arts, and other community events. It's kind of like one-stop shopping right there. And on the next slide, you can see that they offer everything from a chef class to fly tying clinics to scrapbooking overnighters. Like, clearly there's something for everyone. And it can all be found because they have this committee that puts it all together. Not on their own, of course, but they bring everyone together as a community and share that. The next one is American Fort. They call it the PARK program, which is Parks, Arts, Recreation, and Culture, with a specific responsibility to review applications for funding. It's a little bit different, but it does, as you can see in the picture, it brings music and other culture to the community. I'm involved. This is a plug for something totally off topic, but not really. There's a production, a community production that we've put together in Roosevelt called Lamb of God. It's like an Easter thing. It's happening on the 31st at Roosevelt Junior High. And that was all done just by citizens on their own, like asking for donations and getting in-kind donations for the posters and whatnot. But if we had a committee to help them with that, I think we would see even more opportunities like this arise. And the next one this is just a flyer from the town that I grew up in, Midvale. And they do a week-long city celebration, just like we do with UBIC. But with their arts and their parks councils, they put together this flyer, this mailer, really. It goes out to every postal customer in the city. So every single person has every single activity that they're doing that week instead of trying to find it on Facebook or word of mouth. It's just available for them. So everyone knows what's going on, and it brings that community together. So in the corner of the bottom of that little flyer, it has like a summer concert series, but at the bottom it says like the ZAP tax. And that's something that we all pay, right? We pay the ZAP tax here just like they do. And that tax should be going towards these types of recreation and cultural activities. So it would be nice to actually see and be able to, as a citizen, approach them and see what the tax dollars are going toward. And then on the last slide, I just put like our times now, like we're a little behind the boat on this one, but we can still join in. And I really encourage you, and hopefully the community is wanting this as well, because it's something that I think could really bring us together and make Roosevelt better, and go along with our mission statement to raise our families, work for good joy, recreational opportunities, and serve. So thank you for your time.
Thank you.
You did a good job, by the way. All your nervous. That's great information. So along with what Wendy said, so there is some thought and there's some ideas floating out there around of how we can form that, or what we should do, if we should do it, and those types of things. So I'd like to open it up to the public, and then so if anybody would like to comment or have any thoughts regarding Parks and Rec Committee, Parks and Rec Committee, and would it benefit Roosevelt to have one? Is it? So, see a lot of nods, yes. Oh, and really quickly,
if you could, and I know you're carrying a big, but if you could stand and at least state your name for the record. That's why I repeat everything. I know I'm not going crazy, and I know everybody can hear, but.
He's keeping me from going crazy. No, I'm Christina Wallace, and Jason was trying to explain this to me a little bit today, but anyway, the presentation was amazing. And just saying, we've moved quite a bit. We got to Roosevelt probably like 6 or so years ago, but everywhere we moved, it was easy for me. I had little kids. I would just Google their city. I would get a list of activities and things like that. And it was so easy for me to find stuff. And I can't even tell you how many times since we have moved here, so many friends that I have with other little kids, they say, how did you find out about that? How did you? And it's like, I don't know. That has been one of my biggest just mysteries since we've moved here. It's like, how do you hear about things? It's honestly all by word of mouth. I try to look on Facebook. I'm not a huge Facebooker, so it's frustrating because you feel like you have to be on Facebook to hear about stuff. People on yard sale all the time, the Facebook yard sale are saying, hey, how do we find out about this? You know, it's like, that's people are already basically looking for that, but there's just no organized system. And I think there definitely needs to be an organized system because honestly, I don't even think I can count how many times I've had friends say, you know, how do we find out about this? And it would be so nice to have a central location of even just a list of stuff instead of having to say, okay, I want to do this for swimming, I need to research soccer, I need to, you know, things like that. I think it would be so beneficial and so useful for people, not, you know, even who are come from here and who are born here. There are a lot of different activities that go on. I think it's not that there's not. People just don't know about them. And a lot of people who were raised here tend to know about them just from knowing people and knowing who puts together what programs. And so you move in from outside like I did and you're lost. You know, it's like, I don't even know because that's what you're used to doing is just researching this instead of feeling, you know, it would be a way to feel, I think, make everyone feel included too, because it is kind of hard coming, not being raised here because you feel like you don't know all of the little inside things, but you know, just from not being here, just from not knowing certain programs and things that people have put together. And there's things that have come and gone that I'm like, oh, I wish that I had known that for my older kids. And now I'm just really figuring it out after being here for 7 years. So I think it would be extremely beneficial. So.
Thank you, Christine. Christina. All right, Christina. That's one of the things that I thought as well, you know, before I got involved, Danny Mockley's with the library. I don't know if many of you know, but they do a lot of activities at the library even. And, you know, they get out games we actually participated in. And I found out about that happenstance. It was from you. Anyway, word of mouth. That's part of the committee would be to bring all of those entities together to discuss those and then figure out a way to market those and help one another market those and participate in that. I think that would be one of the functions of that committee. I think that's very important. Thanks for commenting. Any other thoughts on this?
Yeah, absolutely. My name's Jeff Davenport. I have quite a few travel teams. I have 2 softball travel teams and a travel basketball team. And my biggest thought is we are really limited in space to practice with the fields the way they are, everything, even trying to find a court to practice on. And it would be great to have a committee where we can all communicate together and work together. And I can push my girls to do the red because I know exactly what they're going to do and how they're going to do it. Right now, I can't push them that way. I tell them to go to Vertical if they're going to play right now because of the way it's structured and the way I don't know what days the field is available, what days I can practice. It's just a big cluster everywhere. You know, we don't understand how to increase the productivity of our kids. We don't know to use the field more wisely here and there. And I think a committee together, as with the rec department, they could ask for our feedback. What do you guys see? What do you guys want us to help with? What do you guys want us to do? And we can work together. And the money thing is not a big issue for us. We can bring in teams and have tournaments left and right. And that would fund everything you guys need for the parks and stuff like that. That's not an issue. I have people calling me left and right wondering, where can we come play you guys? I don't know, can you? You know, I don't know what field I can have. I can have one field one day and then the next time all the fields are done and I can't even practice. So I have my girls go up to the elementary up there and play on grass. You know, I just think that we just need as a community to have better communication between everybody that plays in the sports and parks and the rec departments. And I think by having a committee, you can actually go to one person or a couple people and figure this all out and get it all lined out where everybody together as a community can work and make these kids, because it's all about the kids. That's what it's about. Get these kids out from behind the TV, outside and being active. And that's what we should be able to, as a community, want for our kids and want for the neighbors' kids. But when we have no communication or no schedule of what's going on, there's no way we can do this stuff. And the other thing too is I talked to Finn a little, Brent Finn, about the fields and situations and stuff. We're willing to do fundraisers to help out and to get like fence around the fields here at the old park, or do a safety bags. We don't even have safety bags on our fields for our girls to play on. We were so big in safety, and at least in the industry, we're not safety with our kids when it comes to sports. And that stuff needs to be cleared up in these committees. And so that's why I think it's and that's why I think we definitely have to have this committee to be able to make these kids progress and be the athletes that they should be. I mean, you look at the high school right now, what sports are doing good? It's because of the travel teams, and the rec department needs to be like that. If you look over in Vernal, the rec department, they have an all-star for softball. They have an all-star team that goes to a couple tournaments. We don't do that here. We say, oh, you signed up, give me your money. Oh, we don't care what goes on. As long as I got your money, that's fine. That's the way I take it. And I coached rec last year about the whole thing, and I was disappointed in how it was ran. And so the thing is for us as travel and want our girls to progress even higher, I have no faith in the Roosevelt Rec department in basketball or in softball. And I want that to change, because I know there's a lot of kids out there that want the same thing. They don't want to just go and just run around and don't even know the rules of the game. They want to figure this out. You got people in the community here that understand the sports, that's willing to donate their time to do a couple of trainings for them here and there so they can get a little bit better. So then it makes everybody better when kids get a little bit of training and a little bit of work. And so that's why I just feel like it's really important for the community to have this department, just like Vernal. Vernal has one. And I'll tell you what, I love going over there. You know, I think the prices are a little high, it's a little steep. But other than that, it's organized. I know exactly what I'm going to get. I know what's going to happen. And everything works out just fine. So that's why I'm way in favor for it.
Thanks, Jeff. Some of the thoughts that, Jason, go ahead. My name's Jason Koalas. I just kind of want to voice what Jeff has said. I mean, my son's interested in soccer, and I'll be honest with you, we don't participate much in Roosevelt soccer. We've been traveling to Vernal for the last 2 years to participate in indoor soccer and soccer over in Vernal. And I feel like it's a lost opportunity that we have as Roosevelt City. And I can't tell you how many people I've seen from Roosevelt over there participating in those services they have over too. It's constant. I mean, every time you go over there, we actually have a Roosevelt indoor soccer team over in Vernal last year. And so the response is there. People are wanting these opportunities, but I agree, if we don't have opportunities to talk and share this information with one another, we're losing opportunities. I mean, I love sports. I'm a sports fan. I can't even find the high school games without Googling. I've been looking for them. I've had to call parents. I have parents that have kids playing that have to call, when's the next basketball game, when's the next football game. If we can communicate that, I feel like that would bring our community in. I mean, and if we can have opportunities to communicate, hey, the softball team girls want the snow removed from the softball field so they can get playing. If we could have a communication, I'll be honest, I would love it. I have young men that I work with at church, if they send out a text and say, hey, we're gonna meet this night for a service project, I'd be there, heartbeat. I want to support them because I know I get the support back. And I think we have good-hearted, honest hardworking people here in the basin, and we want to support each other. And I think we just need a communication avenue to be able to support the arts, to support the sports. And I think this is past due, like a lot of you said. And I think it would also, I don't know, Principal Guyman would be able to speak about this, but I think it would help the schools too, because I bet you guys are being bombarded by parents. Can we come use your gym? Because guess what?
I'm the biggest headache.
I've been doing that, but if we could have a community.
Sorry, you were the headache.
The
The others.
You were sending emails and trying to talk to Bruce, can we come use the gym? Because we formed a little indoor soccer group this year. We didn't have the avenues to do it, so we formed a group. We were playing twice a week. And Centennial, Bruce was great enough to let us use the gym. We formed a group. And at my work, I had the opportunity to talk to a lot of different people. I can't tell you how many parents told me, how long have you been doing this? My child would love to do it. And this is just for a specific age group, for 9 to 10-year-olds. And I probably have had 30 to 40 parents contact me and say, can we get involved? So I feel like the needs there, the opportunities are there. And I think the biggest thing is it'll bring our community closer together. I think that's a benefit.
Thank you. Yes.
I'm Bruce Guyman. I'm a principal at Centennial Elementary School, and maybe I'll hit on a different angle. I appreciate Wendy really for taking the bull by the horns, hopefully a little bit, and getting this ball rolling. One of the things that I see on my end, and I'm sure this wouldn't surprise you, when families move here or families are looking to move to Roosevelt, I think one of the very first places they contact is the schools. Yeah, and for example, I'm in the process of recruiting a new teacher that I'm interviewing tomorrow and trying to convince her to relocate her family to Roosevelt from California. And one of the first questions she asks is, what's available in the community? I have 2 high school kids, 2 junior high kids, and this is things they like to do. And to find all that's available, it would be so wonderful if I could point her to a website or something and say, hey, go here. Here's everything that's going on with sports, with arts, whatever, in one place. It seems like we have a lot of silos, different groups doing great things, wonderful things in our community, but it's near impossible to find them all. And so that would be wonderful for me. As new families move in, I can say, hey, here's what's available for your kids. I get asked that all the time. Where can I sign up for baseball, or where can I look into theater programs or whatever there is? And those things are out there, but it's hard for me to find them and win them. So that would be wonderful. Thank you.
Thanks. Wait, that was a good question. Go ahead, Ms. Arvetta.
Well, I have an opposing view to this. Having spent thousands of hours doing AYSO soccer, literally thousands with that, I would not have wanted to sit down in a room as busy as I was and listen to what's going on. I love the arts, but to say that those 2 things should be combined, I don't see how that works. I'm going to be perfectly honest with you. Also, I don't see as in my time with soccer and all that we did in the city was wonderful to us. Truly, they were, with fields, maintenance, and everything. We couldn't have been happier. However, when I was going through the survey and seeing how much the city is supplementing soccer, $10,000 to $20,000, as opposed to baseball at $90,000 to $100,000. And when I was doing it, I'll be honest, I don't know the figures now, but there were far more kids playing soccer than there were playing baseball. And to look at that weighted thing, I think I would have had a hard time sitting across from baseball and going, yeah, we're all in this together. Because it doesn't seem that way. It really doesn't. And also, again, as I said, 10,000 or more, not 10,000, but at least 2,500 hours, 2,500, hours or more that I spent with soccer. I would have had a really hard time in that situation. And also too busy to sit down. My opinion is that if you're passionate about your kids playing in those sports, then you should get in there and you should do everything you can to help. And it sounds like you absolutely are, all of you, and in the arts. But I don't see how the city is responsible for that. The city didn't do it when I was involved with it, and I plan on getting involved again. I have grandchildren now that are old enough to play. My kids did play in Vernal and here, but we did everything we could here. I just don't see how that's the city responsibility. Absolutely have an arts council. What happened to the last arts council?
It was voted to be disbanded.
By the,
Why?
because they wanted to.
That's a good.
Because they wanted to. So if you're passionate about it, pick it up and do it. Well, why is that the city's umbrella? Just a thought, just an opposing viewpoint there. I don't think that that's the city's responsibility with everything else they do. It's the citizens' responsibility to support their children. Great, have a website where all those people can post their things, which I've noticed the city's website has been posting all kinds of things about this event or that event or this sign up or Lamb of God, I saw that on there the other day. But I just don't see how one more meeting will help that.
So how much time do you spend, Jeff, trying to find fields and
I have to go sit on a field at 3 o'clock, even though my practice is at 5, and I have to sit there and wait so no one takes it, or I don't have it for the night.
and how long does it take you to try to organize, to find a field and those types of
I was
things?
supposed to go to practice, tournament in 2 weeks. Fields aren't ready. I had to tell the people of the tournament, we can't do it. I need my money back.
Yeah.
Because,
Well,
and I'm saying that's weather-wise and stuff like that, and I understand all that, but what I'm saying is, the time that we spend, we do about 8 hours a week of practice.
what about coordinating the field? What about trying to find the fields, coordinating? How
You
much
know,
time do
it's
you,
first come, first serve.
and how much time do you spend on trying to find all that, like making phone calls and doing that?
Well,
Or you just
I
You just show
called
up.
Brett and he just said it's first come, first serve. And so now people are dropping off their kids after school and they're sitting out there and holding the fields.
So what I'm thinking, and I'm not trying to be contrary, I'm just throwing this out there as a thought. If there was a group of people, individuals that could meet together an hour a month, how much time would that save you? In the long run.
I would say at least 4 or 5 hours a week.
Where you would have somebody from the school district, somebody from the city, somebody from, the different entities, and know what's going on with all the different organizations. How much time would that save? Yeah, Rowdy.
Is that right if I speak for a second?
Yeah, sure.
I'm Rowdy Cloud. I'm over at baseball where I help with boys baseball. And I totally disagree. I spend countless hours throughout the week. I mean, this week's nuts because it's draft week, and so I've had to take work off because I'm so busy. I would gladly give up 2 hours a week to try and make this community better. And that's what I feel like this committee would do, is make it better. I work with Brent a lot and Dustin a lot, and I don't want to call out names, but the fields are a ton better than they used to be. They do a whole lot of work on the fields. Brent's been a stud to us, and he helps us out on NT ball. He's did different things in the fields there, on the soccer fields. And so I can't thank him enough, and I can't thank Dustin enough. They've been great to us. But, I mean, it can always get better. That's all we're here to do, is try to make the program better. And what we always say is our goal in this community is to grow these kids, make them into great baseball players, make them into great citizens. And so they grow up and do the same for their kids. And this is the opportunity for all of us as a whole to get together and discuss things that can make us better. I personally, so we're up there 4 or 5 nights a week, all night long. I've got kids running around all over that aren't playing baseball. And so I look at this as an opportunity to get with maybe the Arts Council twice a month, have them come up, organize something for all these little kids that are running around. Give them something to do, put exhibits up there or whatever it is. I don't know. I'm not an arts guy. I throw a ball. That's all I can do. But I mean, it's an opportunity for us to talk about everything that we can do to try and make it better. That's how I see it. I'll gladly give up my time because that's what I do anyways. So.
Thanks for your comment. And I think Arvada did make a good point. This is something, I hope everybody understands that this isn't something that the city is going to take on and then not have people participate in. This is just a structure of an organization that would allow that people couldn't just disband if they didn't like it. Or this is something that we need, and I feel like as a council, to understand what's going on. People to understand what's going on. So it's got to be something that people can't just say, well, I don't like doing that anymore and we're done. It has to have continuity. I think one of the main things with a lot of the sports programs and recreation in our area is there are great people that volunteer, and those programs are phenomenal. And then they are done and those programs kind of wane a little bit. And then somebody else that has kids coming through will pick that up. If we had kind of a constant committee where, as Wendy mentioned, as you know, somebody moves out, somebody moves in, but there's still other people there that know what's going on and how things are kind of going and ran. And there's already the organization there. When people get plugged into that, they're off and running. And I feel like I could see the weight lifted off of those volunteers. We're not going to take the programs over, but the weight lifted off those volunteers to where they have avenues to be able to get the help they need and those types of things. I don't know, but I do agree with you. This isn't I agree with you that this isn't a city ran thing. This is just a committee that would be formed to allow those that volunteer their time to come and organize themselves and give feedback. And one of the things, you know, Superintendent Brotherson isn't here tonight, but he and I have had several conversations on this. How would it be if you had the sports programs, the youth sports programs, visiting with the school and the coaches and communicating what they're seeing at the school level back to those coaches, and hey, can you work on these types of things? Can you work on those? And by the time, I don't know when the last time we won a state championship, but I think that
Basketball was 1953.
But what I'm looking at is it's for the kids too, and if we could have some continuity and communication through those programs, so the school district's involved. Not only for that, that's the main thing I think is building these youth and getting the coaches involved at the school level with the youth, so that by the time they're high school age, the skills that they need to learn, the coach isn't trying to retrain them, they're fine tuning their skills. The other thing I see is the facilities. We have tons of resources in our area that may not be being utilized to their full capacity because of that organizational standpoint of communicating and trying to deal with individuals calling. And I think it would be a liaison not only with the council and the staff, but could be a liaison with the school board and those entities too, where they would have representation there, and that could be communicated at that level. And there's just some thoughts thrown out there, and I know I think you had a comment also.
A lot of it's been said, but just a couple of questions. First of all, thank you all for being here and appreciate the dedication and service that you provide in the community. I understand what that's like and appreciate that dedication. That takes a lot of time, a lot of hours. There's a lot of good that comes about. I'm listening and hearing a couple of things that I want to make sure I'm hearing it correctly. One, there seems to be a really large coordination, communication opportunity for improvement. Number two, there's a real marketing landing page for everybody to come together opportunity that's there. And number three, how many different organizations are there in the community? I mean, people doing baseball, soccer, football, all the little organizations. I don't even know how many there are, but I would sure be interested in knowing how many there are out there, to understand the complexity of what exists. I know there's girls soccer or soccer. I know there's softball, baseball, football, but I don't know how deep that breadth is, what that need is and what it is. So it'd be helpful, I think, for us to understand what's out there, and that might help us as we have further conversations on how to bring this all together.
That's a good point. Yeah, that information. Are there any other comments from the, yes, Vince?
I just real
Oh,
quick,
state your name.
Vince Riley. So I really like what Arbetta said. I agree that if you're going to lean towards putting some committees together, that arts probably should be separate from Parks and Recreation because of arts can be very complex, and you don't want to have the people who are thinking about soccer sitting through a 2-hour meeting while they're talking about painting classes and other community events to improve the city and things like that. And the second thing is, with my 20 years of military service, and as I traveled all over the world, including Germany and most of the United States, you know, I had 9 kids. So we always participated in the local sports and community events. And all of those small communities that we lived in, each of those communities that had strong committees, were the communities where everybody knew what was going on, that the resources were pretty easy to obtain and schedule, and you could have the kids' year just planned out through the year, and the communication went better, and there was a lot higher level of success in those communities that had those committees.
Thank you, Vince. And that is a good point. And to clarify a little bit on that, the arts and parks, so it wouldn't be discussed so the arts parks, the Uinta Basin Arts Council would still be an entity in and of itself. So they wouldn't plan their thing at those meetings and waste everybody else's time. What they do is they'd be another organization. Go ahead, Wendy, you raised your hand. You probably say it better than I could.
That's pretty much what I was gonna say, that like, it wouldn't be an arts council and a parks council and a recreation council meeting where everybody discusses every single activity. It would just be like, the arts are organized among themselves, just like baseball and soccer and everything is organized among themselves. The committee would be a place where the arts and the parks and the rec could all come together and say, hey, this is what we've got going on in the park. This is what we have going on in the park. And I, for one, don't think that they should be separate. I want my kids to be well-rounded, but I know nothing about what's going on with the sports in the community. I'd love to have a place where I could go and learn all my options so that I could cater to all the needs of all the kids instead of just, this is them and this is them. Like, it really will, I feel like it will bring the community together. And like Vincent or Betta weren't here when I made my presentation, but this is done in other cities too. A lot of the times the arts and the rec are together because all of those things enhance the quality of life.
Thank you. Yes, Dustin.
I just hear some of the concerns about another meeting. We don't want another meeting. A lot of this stuff that we are trying to do if there is a committee formed, most of the time they can do that through email. What do you have going on? What do you have going on? You don't even have to get together and meet. That's what I would prefer on a committee. They meet a couple of times a year, and the rest of the time, everybody just filters in some information so it can be posted in a central location that's easy to find and know what everybody's doing.
Yes, Councilman Neighbor.
I really commend everybody that's here. I commend you young fathers. 40 years ago, it's hard to believe that I did 13 straight years with the Little League baseball. And that's when the new fields were built, when they were new up the Constitution Park. And it does ebb and flow. And the key is parents, but the key is also communication. Back then, we had a very active newspaper that was very involved, and it gave community events, and they were always listed. And the radios were the same way. It's so different nowadays with communication. And being in the older part, it's really been hard for me to keep up with different things other than asking my children, communicating. So to me, that's our biggest thing. We've got to get a communication basis to spread out. But there are lots of good things. And there's so much time and money being spent on club sports. That's the kind of the more groupings of them. And high school I feel like our Utah Jazz is basically in watching grandchildren play, and others, it's almost a waste if you're wanting them to improve, to be players. It's just kind of a recreation that they don't get time to have practices. We've got to get organized and give certain hours for practice, and somebody's got to be there to manage those type of things. But this is great to see you out, and I love the arts too more than I did when I was younger. And my wife's part of the in the chorus with the, and it's a big thing, and yet it's not getting the word out, like, and it's only in 2 weeks, I think, the 31st, I think,
At 6.
Sunday
Junior high.
evening, 6 at the junior high. But that's why we combine them, is so we can combine our assets, find out what's gonna be happening, get them spread out, but it's mainly getting out the advertisement and the words. And we're not as communicating of society as we used to be. We used to talk to each other a lot more, because you couldn't text and you didn't have cell phones. And I mean, you had to make an effort to coordinate these things, and we did it. And now, so many people are just relying on that electronics to do anything. I just compliment all that's doing. And Roosevelt City's never had so much facilities. And one of the things that we've always competed against Fernal, it isn't Fernal, it's Uena County. Uena County sponsors all of those big things over there, and they pay for them. It's a lot bigger entity to have the county doing those things than it is Roosevelt City. And that's always been a hard thing. They just get a lot of support from the county because they have a county recreation fund that we haven't ever been able to get in Duchesne County, because certain entities that have already created their own little nest don't want their nest ruffled. And so it's really hurt us. But right now, I mean, look at the schools. Gee, in the last 10 years, I mean, Union High School is one of the elite high schools in the state of Utah. And all the facilities, and now we got to get them so we can coordinate them, and they're building the new training center. It's only half as big as we'd have all liked, but it's a lot bigger than what we weren't going to get. And so now we got to coordinate those things and be grateful for what we have, and for those that have worked before. And I'm great to see this passion about arts and sports, and whether it's soccer or football or others. I mean, Union and the boys and girls haven't been able to be on their fields yet. And Union's down in Delta playing a doubleheader baseball game today. I know but obstacles always make us better. And all this snow we prayed for, there's opposition in it. So we make it good. But look what's happening in Nebraska right now. I mean, that state's being washed away almost, right? Just horrific things that are going on. So number one, let's all be grateful. But number two, let's not quit moving forward. And we can get together, we can communicate, and we can help each other to do it. In the city, we need to start this summer on the fields having time allocation practice from morning through the day, and have it, and not just say first count. That's too easy to say that, and we need that. And it's hard to get on the newer fields like the new baseball one. I mean, they spend lots of money to make a nice field. And a lot will come down there and use them and abuse it so much that it ruins it. And so we got to help educate people on all the different things. We've never had such great facilities. Look at you got the junior high auditorium, and now the high school with, I think it's 1,600 seats. Tell me that isn't an investment in arts, and the chorus and all the bands, all the things there. It's the best. It's fantastic. So we need to promote those things and I'm grateful for what's happening, and I'm sad that our council got worn out, basically, and that's why they disbanded, because they couldn't get enough help. And as the city council, we basically said, well, let's see what the public wants. Wendy came and spoke. I didn't recognize her earlier, but I did after you started talking, and she came and talked to us and was how disappointed she was. The city's very reactive to those that want to make a difference. The city will help. And I appreciate the mayor's youth and energy
and what he's been trying to involve with committees.
Daniel.
Okay.
Sure. Daniel Lockley from Houston County Library. And I would just say, however it takes a form or shape, everything that's been said is absolutely true. We would want to help with that. Certainly we have more of an art there probably than, we don't have fields, obviously. We'll have a community room. 180 people community room. We already have successful collaborations with Duchesne City Arts Council that volunteer. And they come and do paint nights all the time. 30 people attend every time in the community room. Food Sense from USU Extension hosts their classes there. We have a big open house every November where people take, jars of mixes and stuff home as gifts. We make those collaborations. I expect the same thing to happen there. The library can't be the be-all for arts. We do have limited resources as well. But I would say that, and I'm sure that my board would agree with me, that we would want to be a player to that. It'll be a county library, but it'll be Roosevelt's library too, under the county. It's the community here that we're concerned for. And the other thought that came to me, we really revamped our strategic plan, and our mission was entirely based upon programs. We will do this, we will host this, we want people to use this. And I've talked to various directors that have shot that plan in the foot and said, that's not an engaging mission at all. What's your purpose? But as I hear the talks here, we're concerned about growth. We're concerned about people progressing. And we all know that each soccer, arts, help us all make better people. So I would just say that whatever the mission of this committee is, will be based on people and not programs. That the mission be focused on, that all of these things can contribute towards the individual growth of the people that we care about.
Thank you, Daniel. One thought that I had really quick that I'd like to share. First of all, it comes down to the community. And I do appreciate the thoughts. If we did form something, I think it would be up to the members willing to donate their time to volunteer and come to that community to see how that would function. My personal feeling is to have a committee that would meet together face to face. I think you have a lot better success of communicating when you're live and there and seeing people respond. I know I've miscommunicated a lot of stuff over email and text, and people are like, and so to have that. The other thing is where it is, this will be formed for the community, with the community in mind. We want people to be able to come to a place where they have a committee and talk about the things that are happening and things that they would like to add. And so that's hard to do electronically. And so that, that would be one of my things. But again, I wanted to reiterate, not to take the place of and have this committee be the arts committee and have it all, but to help the Basin Arts Council or some arts committee reform and then have a representative that would participate in this committee. And same thing with the library, have the library involved with that committee, have the sports programs and the school districts, the county, all come together and coordinate and communicate those things, not to come and say, well, what do you guys think if we plan this? It's more like, hey, we're doing this, and even the UBIC, it's not to take the place of UBIC or any of that. It's just, for example, if Chad came to this committee and said, we're doing UBIC, and soccer said, well, we'd love to do a tournament there, baseball, and start coordinate those efforts, take a load off of him as far as trying to figure out how to come up with, and the arts there too, like, hey, we could do this for that. And he could just orchestrate it, more or less, and everybody just fall in and fill in and do their thing. And it would be, I think it would be a good thing.
I just need grant. That is what happens right now.
Yeah.
Soccer just does the tournament, and I think baseball does theirs, and Chad doesn't do it.
Gotcha.
So that is happening.
Cool.
That part of it.
And that's great. And the good thing with having an organized thing is if those people move and change, then that's something that's built into a committee and something that's a process that's formed that would continue continuity. Any other thoughts?
Yeah, I'm Brandon Arnold. I think we need to face, more than anything, more than a committee. That's what we have right now is 6 different committees. I think unless you have one guy that doesn't favor the one committee or the other, he's the one that's in charge of utilizing what we already have. And if it's not a set schedule for certain things, no matter what it is, I think we're gonna have the same problem. It's like say, let's get a community, in that community we come in, we overpower them or they overpower us. You know what I mean? Like, you almost need a neutral guy that's in it for what facilities we have, and then he delegates who can use what at what time. That's what I think we're all looking for, isn't it? A guy that's gonna be that face. I know you don't want to put a guy in there, but I just don't know how we're gonna do it with volunteer time when that's what we're doing right now. It just doesn't seem like it works.
You mean like a hired person to, see, and I think we have a hired person with the city and maybe.
We have somebody that only just a few years ago, we had, a director over our parks. But we have.
That's like taking care of the grass, right?
What's that? Dustin takes care of the grass.
Right, but I've never seen like a schedule to where we can, because we're all fighting for the same thing. So if there's a guy in charge, I'm not aware of who he is. Or you.
Brent is in charge of that.
Right, but
All the regs.
yeah,
There needs to be somebody that's coordinating all the different entities that want to use the fields. And a lot.
and anything else, the grass, it doesn't matter what it is. There's gotta be a guy that something's ran through, so we don't have a cluster of fight. That's why these guys, all of our money's going elsewhere. Whether it's going on the Wasatch Front or going 30 minutes to UN. We're losing it because there's a traffic jam and then they're gone. It's just the way it's ran. It doesn't matter if you got a guy there, we need to get a louder guy there, I guess. I don't know.
Well, and the good thing about forming something, and I talked to our city manager about this before the meeting and kind of expressed some thoughts. And I was talking to him, I said, this committee, it doesn't have to be, when we start something, this is new for our area. This is new for us. We don't know, we can guess, but we don't know exactly how it's going to work or what's going to be best or how scheduling is going to be best or what. But when we start the committee, we're going to understand better how those things work, and we'll probably be able to address some of those issues as it goes. And we can organize the committee based on the resolution, meaning that we have opportunity to change that and modify that and tweak that to where it works. And if it doesn't work, then we tried it and it failed and it was no good. Then we try something else. But
Mayor,
yeah,
I think it would really help right now. We're at the spring where they really want to need fields. We need, as a city, to have a meeting for these that want to use the fields and get some time set up so they can get a little bit of confidence in that so they can move forward. That's got to happen soon. It'd be good, right?
So some of that happens. And I understand that there's some conflict. We have actually I challenge to, can you name how many baseball fields we have in this town? Can anybody name it?
Usable ones?
That's part of my issue. I think there is an issue if there's some.
Baseball field, right?
Well,
A baseball
it can
field
be.
with backstop.
But see, then you still got the same problem. You still got guys fighting for the two
But at
good.
that point, I think there is some being able to get those to be usable.
Right.
We've spent a great deal of effort over the last 2 years to elevate what we have especially in our baseball fields.
And that was recognized.
That
And it has
changed
been,
it.
but we just need to coordinate schedules.
Yeah.
That's what we're
We
asking.
have some of that coordination. That's what I'm telling you. We have some of that coordination going on. Do we have traveling teams? Traveling teams, that is one of the weaknesses that trying to schedule those traveling teams and the practice fields.
But I truly
That's
feel,
where we're weak.
We are weak there, but
Traveling.
if somebody would schedule what we do have and not say first come, first serve, that's not.
So
Can I
first
just-
come, first serve.
give me a second.
All right, it's fine.
Can I just say one thing? This is exactly why we need a committee. So that these things can be sorted out in that committee.
Right.
And not here. And that's my personal feeling. But the other thing that we're missing completely is we have, and I hate to even volunteer the school, but we have a school that has some facilities and they may be accessible and we may be able to work with them. I don't know, maybe there's rules and regs that say no, but we have resources here that I'll guarantee, because I see it every day, that are not being utilized to their potential, that we all as taxpayers pay for, whether it's the school district or whether it's Roosevelt City, those taxes go to pay for those facilities. And I feel like having a committee that would be a part of the organization and scheduling and utilization of those facilities would be great. It would be a good thing.
Well, I think if we get the organization where we want it, then going and getting together and maybe fixing up some of these, you know, if there's a home base where we can all look to see what's going on, I think you'd be surprised what we could do as a community, putting our time in, maybe getting some of those, you know, this Saturday, let's meet down here and let's go through, this guy bring this, let's do that. I mean, guys are willing to give whatever. Everybody's starving for good fields, and we're all really kind of missing what we do have. I do understand that, but if we had a place somewhere that you guys will, you know, to where you can look for arts or sports or whatever, that's like its own little directory of what's going on, I think you'd be surprised at what you had to help with what we are paying for already.
I agree. No, we spent a lot of time on this and I appreciate all the comments. They're all good comments, a lot of good thoughts, and we've got a lot of good insight. So my thought is, and what I would propose to the council tonight is not that we form the committee now, but that we proceed with the idea and move forward in that direction, and would entertain a motion to that in that regard, or to not, either way.
Mayor, I would, you know, I haven't spoke much here, but I've been listening a lot, and I see that there's a big need for all kinds of things, recreation, arts, and these different things. And I believe that the solution really is in communication to the council, to the city, to the community. And I think that communication coming from the citizens to us is the best way to run a program. And so I would move that we proceed in organizing and putting together a plan for how this committee would work, and then bring it again to the public and see if it's what you guys want and move from there.
Let's speak to that too. I think it'd be good for us to continue our conversation there, but I think we have some more immediate things we can move on quickly. And I think our city manager is alluding to some of those things with that. When I hear that, that's interesting to me. If there's not anybody that can say, okay, this organization has fields from 2 to 4 today. That organizational head goes back and says, okay, guys, we got 2 to 4. You get this one, this one, this one. To me, that seems really simple.
Yeah.
And I think those are some things that we could address far before we get any deeper, because we may be able to find out that some of these things aren't as deep as just our communication opportunity. That's what I'm hearing. I think it'd be good for us to start there and continue that conversation, like Councilman Baird saying. Let's look and discover some. But I think what I'm hearing and what I'm hearing here is not too far apart, honestly. It's just getting that as a first step and then moving in that other direction, because there's a lot of complexities there with this. You know, if it's sheerly coordination, which right now what I'm hearing, there's a massive coordination, and maybe there's more coordination there that exists, but people just don't understand where it is. You know, that's amazing to me. Like Councilman Labram says, we live in the day of communication, yet we find it easier not to communicate with each other now, and we have more opportunities to do it than ever, because so much of our communication is just private communication that just goes one-on-one. You know, and we think we're communicating, but it just doesn't happen. So I think for me, that's where we ought to start. Let's start with that, round one, and then move forward from there.
Thanks. Yes, Dan.
Not library, but I agree with that. For example, we reserved the pavilion in a park for a library event one time, and people were already there, and we had already paid the fee. They're like, well, we're really sorry. Can't you go over to that one instead? And we had reserved that one. And I think something we have to worry about is we'll put the system in place and then it'll have to be enforced. And there will be people that will have to go through the adjustment period of, it's always been first come, first served. It's not anymore. That's all.
In the future, if you ever have a reservation that somebody's there,
Yeah.
we will enforce your reservation.
Yeah.
We'll enforce that. In reservations, we do. On the baseball, our difficulty, and that's a solution, but our difficulty is we prep the field for the boys' baseball that has paid for that reservation through their season, and we spend time to prep the field, and there's a short period of time to do that. It's not used by them during on Fridays or Saturdays, and it's open. Creating a reservation system for that wouldn't be a hard thing. So if you're sitting there, I think we can do that. Our website has that capability. We can add that in as a reservation. Of course, reservations, that's an easy one to do. So appreciate that.
So my question is, accountability is just, like, scheduling comes with accountability, and if no one's gonna hold anybody accountable for schedule, then we got the pavilion issue, in my opinion. That's why I think we need a face, because, I mean, by the time I schedule a field, somebody's on there and somebody gets up there and takes care of it, it's over, then it's the next guy. You know what I mean?
So again, I think a lot of these things could be discussed in committee. I do appreciate your comments. However, I do feel like this conversation is much deeper than the boys' baseball and scheduling fields.
Girls softball.
It's much deeper than that. It's a coordination amongst the whole community, not just one entity. And that's what we're looking at. I agree that we should move forward quickly and not wait for a committee to be formed to try to address some of those issues. But that's totally independent in my mind. That's a singular item. And we've discussed and talked about a whole breadth of things of why we would want to organize our steps. And so I do appreciate that. The motion on the table is to proceed with looking at how to form a committee. And we have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
I have a second by Councilman White. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
I'm not ready to really do that, so I'm opposed.
Okay, we have a tie vote, meaning that I'm a tie vote for Baker, and I say we move forward with proceeding with that committee and looking at how it could be organized and bringing that information back to the council at a later date. So motion passes. Thank you all for being here. Appreciate it.
Very much.
Thank you. As you're leaving, if you haven't taken our survey, our master plan survey, we'd encourage it. We have printed them out. If you want to do it by paper or you want to do it online, we are asking for whatever input people can give us.
Is that the email you guys sent out?
It was sent by email.
So thank you for speaking up.
Yeah. Well, we know probably all is. Yeah, but. It's not one thing. It's one thing.
I understand. I'm just wondering how many it's in the wrong.
Yeah.
I don't know.
But I know there was three scholars. I don't know why it's so.
It's just a situation.
Yeah, I just. And I think we are not like it's the. It's not that.
Thanks again, you guys.
Thank you. Yeah. Next item is ordinance 2019-424 presentation. So, Ryan.
So we haven't published a public hearing. This is just when we came up, there's a few little corrections we thought, you know what, we'll just bring to you. Then if you want us to hold a public hearing, go for it. So it doesn't need a motion other than if you want to send it to public hearing. So what this does is it repeals this section of police fleeing from an officer. The city ordinance has that fleeing from an officer is a class B misdemeanor. The state already has and has that and updates what level of crime that is. It's just a duplicate in our code. It's just removing that. And then the other one would be just the letter C in that code, and that is specifying that the golf pro is responsible and owns and operates the range. City owns and operates the range that's ours, not the golf pro. So it's just kind of like just a technical clarification. So those are the two. As we find things, we try to bring to you just so you know that we're looking at different little things if there are discrepancies. So anyway, that's what we're looking at. Are you okay for public hearing? That's what we want to.
Yeah, well, I was just, the one was about the officer, the other one, did you mention the 12 feet?
Yeah, this is about the officer and this is about the golf.
Yeah, range balls. So it has to do with the ownership of the range ball. So anyway, is there any questions or discussion on those?
I read both of those and looked at them, and it's exactly what Ryan saying. It's just technicality. State law already addresses the, section 9 ordinance that we're repealing, and then, yeah, the golf balls, are the city's property, not the golf course.
Would entertain a motion to hold a public hearing to see if the public has any comment on those.
I'd make a motion to push this forward to public hearing.
That we push it forward.
To a public hearing, so I can make the amendment.
A motion by Councilman Wade and a second by Councilman Labor. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion passes. The approval of supplemental number 3 additional design work on the airport. So this is a fun one.
Yeah, so, we were excited. We applied for funding for our taxiway. When we did, first of all, we applied and we have funding set aside for the runway. We've got that design, we've got it. We were going up to bid. We had designed the east side taxiway to go along with it, just in case we got additional funds. We're told that we have a 90% chance of having sufficient funds that we could rebuild the entire runway plus build the whole new taxiway. It is 90% that's kind of the chance. Or
tell us the year that would happen.
This year, it would start as soon as they offer the grant, as soon as that's signed. But
the reason that's significant is this was going to be pushed out, I think, 5 years, right?
Yeah, because we pushed off. So if we do it now and we have it designed and ready, then when that grant comes, we can start immediately at that. If the grant comes and we don't have it designed and ready, then we don't get that portion. So this gets us to say, hey, if we're fortunate, then we go. So anyway.
So the motion would be, it'll cost $90,000 to do the additional engineering. And there's a 10% chance that it may
Not go.
not.
I move that we do this, but the engineering can be ready and used in the future.
Correct.
If it's used soon enough, it may be some loss in that.
My understanding is they encouraged us to do this so that we would be prepared, correct?
Yes.
And that's a pretty good hint.
And I've been in on those meetings as well, and they say if there is any extra funds at all, they will go to the entity that has the projects ready to go in place. And
We
so-
have our environmental all done for the whole tax year.
Then I make the motion that we do this so that we are prepared. Second, it'd be a great thing.
Motion by Councilman Lakerum and second by Councilman White. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion passes. Sidewalk analysis presentation.
All right, so I have talked to you about the sidewalk inventory we've done. So what this is this gives us what we do now. Now that we've done the analysis, now that we have an idea of what our hazards are and how much, then how do we do it? So at this point, it's costly to take out each one of those and repair them. It considers a hazard to be a 1/4 inch with a 12% grade, and there is some potential penalties if they assess those. We have 4,533 that we have identified as trip hazards. We haven't done a lot to address these in the past. They are a safety one, and we would like the council's support in being able to take care of these issues. So that's the gist of what I'm talking about. Gives an idea of maps of where all these are located in the different regions, different areas. They talked and said, hey, if you divide this up over 8, 10, 15, and 20 years, you can take the money and you can set a budget. And these are just budget numbers that they're trying to set, and giving an idea and saying, hey, you could do it in parts. I will tell you that if we plan over 20 years, there will be a whole new set by the time we get there, and that money won't get you caught up.
Well, you never know, we could have new sidewalks by then.
Well, maybe. So anyway, what we have is we have designed our chip seal. So what we did is we overlaid our chip seal with the hazards. And we said, if we did it based on where we're going to work and where we're going to already be maintaining roads, if we went out and said, okay, well, what would it cost if we also did the sidewalks along those same roads? And we've divided up into districts to kind of see how we eat this elephant. So here is the breakout. If we did it all, it's almost 1,500 trip hazards we could fix this year. And it would cost us about $88,000. We divide this up into 2 years, so half of that cost would be in this year and half would be in the next fiscal year. But in order to do it, we kind of need to get started earlier than what our fiscal year starts. So we'd have to kind of commit before that starts to be able to split those years. We've done that with other projects. We did that with our chip seal project. This would be another possible. And so that's kind of one of the hopes. To be honest with you, the total, if we said, you know what, we just want to get it all done, get us all caught up, let's move on. They're projecting the cost to be about $278,000 to fix them all, if we wanted to fix all 4,300 trip hazards. It is a lot. What this shows is a few things. One, it shows that our desire to have a lot of sidewalks and to put it in does come with cost. We have maintenance both on roads as well as on sidewalks. So we just need to keep that in mind that as we build that, if there are some that maybe it doesn't need a sidewalk in certain areas, and maybe some do, there is a cost to maintaining sidewalks. So kind of give you a picture of what these ones do. The option, they would come in, cut it. This is what the church does. This is what several other cities do. This is a very common one, and really, this is one of the only ones that are doing it this way. The other option is to either hire somebody or to self-do and to buy the equipment and labor and train staff or try to figure it out, which we don't have any expertise to do. But you know what? I don't even know what the cost would be to do it, but could come in and grind and it would look similar to this way or you can have it cut and it looks like this and it grades right. So anyway, there's kind of a prime example. Here's the trip hazard and here it is afterward. And, so anyway, our hope is one, if the council said, hey, just get it all done, we would work that way. We'd probably need a few more years to get all of it done. So realistically, this is probably the hope that we'd say, if you could support us fixing those as we fix the road and as we maintain the roads, we fix the sidewalks along with it, that would help us get there in a few years. It would take 3 to 4, maybe 5 years to get there, but at least we have a plan forward and we'll move it. So anyway, that's kind of where it summarizes it up.
Ryan, a question on that.
Sure.
Do these firms have enough manpower to ensure that happens in the season?
Yeah,
That seems like an awful lot of repairs.
it's a lot of repair. I don't know their manpower if we did it all. I haven't asked about the manpower if we did it all in a year. But I do believe it has the manpower to accomplish this in a year.
I doubt the amount of time that it takes to do one thing is more than an hour, 30 minutes maybe. So they could, even a couple of people around town could do quite a few in a week.
Yeah.
That's a lot of man hours.
It's a lot of man-hours. A lot of man-hours.
The question that I had for our city manager as well was just the budget. How does that fit into the budget? And could we make that happen without putting other things in?
Half of this in each year, I think we could accomplish. The full amount in this year, a bit more. We would, if we do have some savings we've added, if we needed to do it in this year, that's possible, because we could tap a little of the savings we have been doing and putting some away, especially in the last couple of years. So that's been helpful for us. So it's possible that way, or we could split it. So we could make it work. Either way, if we needed to. It really depends on how much the council wants to buy on this project.
When they went through and did that, they wouldn't be grinding anything down that was obviously needing to be replaced.
All right. So at this point, and this doesn't take care of the ones that need to be replaced.
It's just where the sidewalk's good, except there's a
Right. This is hazards. This is trip hazards, not, because there is some small, than other problems.
So this addresses the ADA compliant trip hazards, not necessarily the approaches onto the sidewalk from roads.
That's correct.
Okay.
It's just the ongoing stretch. The issue with trip hazard is it becomes an ADA issue for us because we have to maintain that if it's separate. If it's already built, then if it was built according to standard, if it's not a new build, then it still fits. It's not a compliant issue because it was built that way. But the actual condition is changing from what we built.
So one other question, Ryan. Understand you correctly, if we split this into 2 years, we don't need to reopen the budget. You have savings in here that can handle half of that this year.
We will reopen budget to manage some of that, to move it around, but we could do that with our budget this year.
Have we ever done major repairs like this on sidewalks? I know we've done some, but have we ever done?
We have, before my time, and it's been a number of years ago, but we have done this and used this firm before, but it has been a number of years ago. And not on this scale.
They're the big one, aren't they? I mean, you see that on the trucks,
Absolutely.
on the freeways.
They are the one that does this. So and that's the other thing. It is basically a single source. There's not
That
a lot
would
of.
be my next question. Do we fit this?
At this point, it really is a single source kind of an item, which makes it different, but they are the ones that do this. And so,
Your other option is to price out the equipment.
yeah, that is the other option to look at, but it's aware of how long the plate gonna last us. How long does what is that?
Savings are, of course.
Yeah.
No, well,
Anyway, but it is a very small for.
any other questions for our city manager?
I would make the motion that we proceed and do it in 2 years. Just don't reopen this year's budget and make the money available this year, and then next year, make sure it's in the budget.
There we have a motion.
All or just what we're
Half and half.
Half an hour.
So all of it, the 270.
No.
Well, I'm just clarifying which one you're talking about. So I'm
So-
thinking 87,000. Okay, no, that's fine. I'm just checking to make sure, but I'm okay to have that amended if I'm still the other way. I'm happy to fix it all if we can, but let's see how good they do and then go.
It's a big chunk, yeah.
And thank you for bringing this to us.
Yeah, for sure.
This is great that we're being proactive and getting some of those things fixed.
For those that have been here, it's been proactive on we're trying to get a lot more lighting in the city too. They've been taking an inventory of all the lights and where we can do things. Trying to increase our safety.
Good stuff. So we have the motion to approve the close to 87,000 plus, and to split that between 2 years made by Councilman Barrett. Do we have a second?
I second.
Second by Councilman Labor, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion passes unanimously. Purchase orders, I saw those go down the line. Does anybody have any questions on those?
Motion to approve, Mayor.
Okay,
Second.
motion by Councilman White, wait, and second by Councilman White, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Motion passes. Reports from standing committees. Do you have anything for us, Councilman Lehman?
I don't.
Councilman White?
One thing, the ULCT conference is coming up. I don't know how many of us are planning to go. Haven't seen any emails about getting reservations. I've seen from the Utah League of Cities and Towns that we need to get.
If you'd like to go, please let us know by end of the week and we'll get you registered and get a place. So if you let
I
us know.
would love to go. I can't right now. I have a deadline to meet and it's not gonna
I plan on Wednesday night through Wednesday and Thursday night, probably.
Wednesday
Wednesday and Thursday night. I'll come on Friday.
I'll let you know tomorrow.
Okay, I'm not gonna be able to do it this time, so count me out. Do you have anything else for us?
How about just bringing back for the meeting in Duchesne on the roads? That comes up before we leave, doesn't it? I mean, before we meet again. Is that next
The
week?
DOT meeting?
When is it? Isn't that real soon? Okay.
Well, he's looking for that.
I do actually have one other thing. I attended the Park and Rec meeting for the city, last week, or whenever they had it. But we're redoing our master plan. And we went over, I believe Ryan identified before that meeting that there were somewhere upwards of 26 ball fields. 14, so I'm over like that. But, so some of those issues with baseball and softball, the city doesn't have enough probably to divide up between all of those different groups to have enough time to play and do that. But definitely something if we can get, like we talked about already, just make some of those other fields available for especially practicing and playing. And I'd love to see tournaments come, there's other places that have tournaments and it brings a pretty big boost to the economy when all those people come.
We actually have one this year. We have All-Stars coming back to Roosevelt. It hasn't been here for as long as I don't know.
We used to almost
20 years.
every year because that was the best one in the
Yeah,
state.
so we actually have the district All-Stars here this year. So.
That's a big one too from out-of-state folks, right?
Well, it'll be 55, 60 teams.
But in that master plan, the reason for talking about that was to identify in the future, where's the city gonna grow and where is the need gonna be for additional facilities like that? And so, it won't always maybe it'll always be that you have to kind of scrap and fight to get your time in, but we can direct where new facilities get built and if we plan, hopefully that's what the master plan's goal is, to identify those and get it already planned out.
Hopefully we'll identify inventory, what there is, what other communities have in similar size, and what our opportunities are for where we go and what we need to have. So, actually.
And I really look forward to the school district's participation in some of this too, because they have fields that are there that may not be so accessible right now, but could be more accessible. And I think it's a good, I think it'll be a good move forward. Why we're waiting for some of those things to be built or things to happen. We have a lot of resources, and it'll be interesting to see how that comes out. So thank you.
I looked up that meeting, it's April 10th, so it's in Duchesne, 9 a.m.
Yeah.
That's a good one for us to be to.
Okay. Councilman Baird, do you have anything for us?
No.
Okay. The only thing I had, other than what we've already discussed tonight, is we have discussed the shooting range down at the sewer ponds. And we do have a lot of support for that, a lot of interest and a lot of people that want to see that happen. So we've gotten kind of just a really rough draft to our city manager. He's taking that to staff at this point. We look forward to getting, moving forward on that. And then I think the next step would be to get a more refined, drawing an idea. I don't know if we'd go to an engineering firm, or I know Joe Burdick, he's not here, but he mentioned maybe an engineer that he could talk to that would do a little work on that wouldn't cost very much, and then get it to a point where we could present that to the public and see if that's something that they would support or if it's something that we need to just abandon. But so far I've seen a lot of support for it, and so just wondering if we could follow up by my next meeting on some of those things and keep that ball rolling.
We've talked to engineer. One of the things we did, one Transwest and with this is identify what kind of expansion we'll need for the sewer. Is it cell one, the top one? Does it need to be expanded, or is it winter storage and a bottom one that needs? So when would we expect to see our expansion? And we've identified really it's winter storage, it's a south pond, so it's the expansion of there that really is a bigger deal for us. So it's a conflict with Transwest that makes a bigger deal for us than the shooting range does on the north end. And so we've identified that and gone through the studies that they had when they projected it. So that was good to get with our engineer, at least have them identify and say, hey, what conflicts with this are potential in the future, and what do we need to make sure that we're aware of. So we've been able to do that, but we report that back to the community as well. So
great. So so we can kind of, I guess we can move forward on that then a little bit. The good thing is after we talked initially about the impact on some of the pivots, we made sure that we minimized the impact on the existing pivots, and Transwest, and I think they agreed to move it and do that lateral across, which
they've got with their engineers, and they're thinking that that's pretty possible. So that's good.
Okay, great. Councilman Wade, do you have anything for us?
Nothing that hasn't been still discussed already.
Okay. Report from our city manager. Do you have anything for us tonight?
So the chip seal, the crack seal first. We'll do crack seal first, and that will come out starting 2 weeks, I think, and it'll take them 2 weeks to do that. Then chip seal will start, and the road work up in the northeast will start. 800 South, we've been waiting for the snow and to get things there, but it's all bid and ready to go. So we're just waiting to get contractors there. The airport we've already talked about. Master planning, just to kind of give you an update. We've got our surveys out. We've got good response back from our Main Street side. We have over 350 responses from that side, which is great. And it's been out a little longer, but the master plan, I think it was over almost 160, and growing. So that's good feedback. We're getting good information, and we're working with that process. So that's taking a lot of time as we expect it to. But other than that, we just keep working, plugging ahead. So we'll cover a lot of the rest.
Thank you. Any need for a closed session tonight? Okay, if not, if there's nothing else, we'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Who's the second?